As for what exactly was going to be done for half an hour, only King of Hell, who smiled like he successfully cheated a girl, knew about it. At this time, Nalan Mansion was at the most lively timing on the banquet, so Nalan Zhengze was in the front hall. However, Nalan Zhengze did not relax in the guard of the study room. Even more than usual, there seemed to be twice as many guards patrolling around the study room. However, the guards of the mere Nalan Mansion were of course a piece of cake for Hushi and Nan Gongyu. After a while, these guards all fainted to the ground, sleeping like dead pigs. Hushi took out the silver needle, poked the heads of these guards a few times, and asked Nan Gongyu to help them up and maintain a standing posture. After another incense stick time, they will wake up, but they won't remember what happened. Hushi retracted the silver needle and chuckled lightly. So even if someone comes to this study room halfway, they won't find anything unusual. Someone of the immortal realm knew such methods of controlling human memory and perception temporarily, but they couldn't do it as easy as Hushi. The girl in front of her in the field of medical skills seemed to have reached the top. Nothing really seemed difficult for her. Nan Gongyu lowered his eyebrows, concealing the pampering and hot desire in his eyes. A gentle smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Such a sheer, if she shines brightly one day, she will definitely become the existence that many people covet and desire, right? However, even if those people covet it, it's useless, because I will definitely guard Hushi by my side. After dealing with the guards, the two quickly entered the study room. As soon as Hushi entered the room, Nan Gongyu's gaze fell on one of the corners of the study room. Seeing Nan Gongyu walking in that direction, Hushi immediately grabbed his hand. This array is very weird. As long as anything gets closer, it seems that Nalan Zhengze will feel it. Even if it's something without spiritual fluctuation, it is no exception. Nan Gongyu smiled slightly. He held Hushi's soft little hand and pulled her forward. Just as he was about to approach the range of the array, Nan Gongyu paused and formed a unique symbol in his hand. Then, a pure black spiritual power spread from his fingertips to the every corner of the room. As the pure black spiritual power permeated, the vague feeling of something watching over them disappeared instantly. The array in front of them was still strange, but Sheer had a feeling that no matter what they did, Nalan Zhengze would no longer sense it. She looked at the black spiritual power that had dissipated in the air, and she couldn't help but widen her mouth, exclaiming, "Dark spiritual power." Nan Gongyu scratched the tip of his nose and smiled braggingly. "Now that you find your man is amazing." Hushi's mouth opened for a long time, and she didn't even react to refute Nan Gongyu's flirt, because the dark spiritual power was really amazing. Hushi remembered that there were many powerful forces in nature: wind, rain, thunder, ice, frost, and frost. But all in all, these forces were derived from the 5 original elements: gold, wood, water, fire, and earth. Therefore, the most powerful thing between heaven and earth was the power of the 5 elements. The purer the spiritual power of the 5 elements, the stronger it was. Please go to https://www.read light novel. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. However, there was also a kind of ability that was completely independent of the 5 elements, and that was dark spiritual power. Dark spiritual power, if it was cultivated to a certain extent, could absorb and transform other spiritual power for its own use. Even in close combat, other spiritual power would be restrained by dark spiritual power and couldn't be used. It was not an exaggeration to say that dark spiritual power was the nemesis of all other spiritual powers. I didn't expect Nan Gongyu to possess the unique dark spiritual power in the Miluo continent. Nan Gongyu looked at her, who was dumbfounded, and the smile in his eyes was even greater. He showed a pampering look. "Silly girl, your abilities are so special, so rare, and there are so many people coveting my baby. If your man isn't strong enough, how can I protect you?" Hushi's face blushed, and she finally recovered. She coughed and turned her eyes aside. I see this array is quite strange. Can you really breach the array?" Having said that, suspiciousness appeared on his face again. If I remember correctly, Nan Gongyu should be in his early 20s. He has reached the nascent soul stage at a young age. No, maybe higher than the nascent soul stage. He also established the Iron Kirin and trained Qinglong, Wuxing and other subordinates. Then he still has time to learn about arrays? What is in this man's head? Is he giving a chance for ordinary people to live? However, Hushi had never thought that her own cultivation had progressed from a mortal without spiritual power to the peak of Meridian's stage in just a few months. That was even more impossible for ordinary people. Nangongyu laughed and walked slowly into the array. His steps after entering the array were strange, as if he was stepping on the direction of the 5 elements and 8 trigrams. Every few steps he took, he would condense the spiritual power, ordinary spiritual power, on the array I. When the array I was in contact with Nangongyu's spiritual power, it would emit a faint light. The entire array would fluctuate. Even the air in the study room seemed to be distorted. After about the time for an incense, Nangongyu took the last step and flicked his slender fingers. Hushi only heard a ding sound and the array that had made her feel threatened instantly disappeared. As the array disappeared, Nangongyu flickered to a mahogany shelf, grabbed an inconspicuous vase on it, and turned it left and right. Soon, a mechanical sound rang in the room. The originally tightly fitted mahogany shelf slowly separated to the 2 sides, revealing a bottomless passage. Nangongyu and Hushi glanced at each other, and they flashed into the passage without hesitation. And as the 2 disappeared, the mahogany shelf moved slowly and closed tightly. Even the array that had been destroyed had been restored to its original state. Hushi looked around and found that he was in a dark passageway, but crystal stones for lighting were hung on the walls on both sides, so she could vaguely see the road ahead. She remembered Nangongyu's actions just now, and couldn't help but exclaimed, "That array is breached just like this?" She and Little Golden Dragon were now considered to have the strength of the gold core stage, but facing this array, they always feel that there was a kind of inexplicable fear. Hushi knew a little bit about the simple array, which he learned from Old Man Sumi's record of everything. But it was just the entry level. But this entry level made her realize the wonder and power of the array. Martial artists, who were not high in cultivation and didn't have powerful strength, could exert the strength that was 100 times stronger than themselves after mastering array. Please go to https://www.readlightnovel. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. The sect, with Mountain Guard array and without Mountain Guard array, the difference in power was a world apart. Of course, the precious materials and crystal stones that were required to arrange and maintain a complex array were unimaginable. Nangongyu nodded and said, "This array should have evolved from an ancient array. Many complicated arrays are removed from it. Relatively speaking, it is not difficult to crack. At best, it can only be regarded as a 5th-grade array. If the original array here is now, it won't be so easy for me to crack it." Hushi's eyes looked yearning for it. She couldn't help but said, "Array is really wonderful. I also want to learn." Nangongyu rubbed her head and smiled, pampering. "Okay, I will teach you." The 2 followed the passage all the way and soon came to a place similar to a pill refining room. The most conspicuous thing in this room was not the pill furnace and the table, but the portrait hanging behind the table. The woman in the portrait had a cold expression, but her face and eyes were beautiful. She was Nalan Hushi's biological mother, Enlingyue. Nangongyu saw the portrait of Enlingyue, and his face showed a clear look of surprise. After that, he stared at the portrait blankly. He was in a daze for a long while. He couldn't even hear Hushi calling him. Hushi was a little unhappy inexplicably, and she leaned close to Nangongyu's ear and said quietly, "Why? Isn't she beautiful?" Nangongyu suddenly recovered, and he immediately reflexively said, "Sheer is the most beautiful in my heart." "Cut it!" Hushi snorted coldly. "I saw you were in a daze looking at it. You just almost didn't drool. You still say that she is not pretty?" Nangongyu looked at the little girl in front of him staring at him with her nose wrinkled, and he couldn't help laughing. He hugged the little girl in his arms, pinched her nose, and smiled very happily and sweetly. "Sheer, you are so cute. You can even be jealous of a portrait, but how you look like when you are jealous." Seeing Hushi getting angry, he quickly said, "Don't worry, except Sheer, other women look the same to me. Even if they stand naked in front of me, I won't be moved." Hushi wanted to sullenly refute his "who is jealous," but she couldn't help smiling. Nangongyu felt that she was more beautiful the more he looked at her. He lowered his head and kissed her lips, then he continued. Sheer, this woman is a bit familiar to me, as if I have seen her before? It seems I saw her a long time ago. Hushi said. Don't think about it. She is Nalan Hushi's mother in Lingyue, and you have seen her portrait in 100 Herb Mist, so it's normal to look familiar. Nangongyu shook his head and said. The portrait of An Lingyue in 100 Herb Mist has gentler eyebrows. At that time, I just thought she was like you, so I didn't think much about it. But now I see this painting, but I always feel a little familiar. Where did I seen it? Don't think about it. There are similar people and similar things. Maybe you saw it wrong? Nangongyu nodded thoughtfully. Maybe. The two wandered around the room for a while, and they soon found another secret passage leading to the deeper underground. Hushi had a hunch that the things hid in this secret path was the real secret of Nalan Jingza. The two concealed their traces and walked quickly into the secret passage. Please go to https://www.novelupdates.cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. The strange thing was that this secret road was completely dark, and there were some strange noises from time to time from the deep underground. There also seemed to be a muffled roar. If one walks here alone, he would really feel creepy. Nangongyu took out the lighting crystal stone, and took Hushi's hand step by step down. The closer to the depths of the secret road, the more obvious the noise was. There was a disgusting rancid smell. After walking for a long time in such a place, their vision finally became clear. Hushi was about to pick up the crystal stone to illuminate the surrounding environment. Then Sehen suddenly felt a breath quickly approaching her body. Purple abyss vine flew out immediately, tangling toward the object that was close to her. And Nangongyu moved faster than her. He launched the natural silk to entangle the figure who was coming. He stretched out his hand and hugged Hushi into his arms. The flying sword in his hand was cast out, stabbing toward the figure that wanted to attack Hushi. Wait! Hushi quickly stopped Nangongyu's action. From the information reported by Purple Abyss Vine, the breath that just attacked her seems to be a person. There was no killing intent on this person, and he didn't have the power to threaten her. Hushi took out more lighting crystal stones to illuminate the place in front of her. However, when she saw the sight in front of her clearly, she took a deep breath. This was a cave that was only 12 square meters in size. There was a disgusting rancid smell in the cave, because there was a wooden barrel in the corner of the cave, and the wooden barrel was filled with excrement. The ground of the cave was not clean. There were mud, blood, and food. The food had been rotten for many days. It emitted a disgusting smell and attracted many insects. And what shocked Hushi the most was the person who attacked her just now. Looking at the size and bones, this should be a young boy. It was just that this young man was naked. He crouched on the ground like an animal with 4 limbs on the ground. His body was covered with mud, leftovers from food, and even smelly excrement. A few small bugs crawled up and down on his naked body, gnawing at his flesh, but he didn't notice it. An iron helmet was put on the boy's face, completely covering his face. Only 2 eyes were exposed. Those eyes were staring straight at her at this moment, exuding a purple light. That's right, they were a pair of completely purple eyes which were almost exactly the same as the purple that appeared in her eyes when she was emotional. However, such a pair of phoenix eyes that were extremely similar to her eyes showed a dull and ignorant expression. He was like a domesticated beast that was well-behaved, obedient, and wouldn't resist. However, he was like a walking corpse without self-consciousness. Looking at those purple's eyes, Hushi's heart twitched slightly. This person gave her an inexplicably depressing heartache. She stepped forward and slowly approached the boy. Seeing her coming, the young man seemed to be frightened, desperately trying to retreat. However, Purple Abyss Vine and Natural Silk were wrapped around him, so he couldn't move at all. So there was a bit of fear in those purple eyes. Hushi waved her hand to call back Purple Abyss Vine. Nangongyu also took back the Natural Silk in time. Once the boy was free, he quickly fled back to the corner with his hands and feet on the ground. While running, he made a jangling. Only then did Hushi discover that there were chains around his neck and limbs. The thin chains strangled his neck and limbs, tearing off his flesh. Old and new scars of varying thickness were all over his body. It looked horrifying. Hushi clenched her hands abruptly. Her nails deeply pierced into her palms. She didn't know what kind of emotion was surging in her heart. Regarding Nalan family and Nalan Jingza, Hushi had always maintained an indifferent attitude. Apart from Nalan Feishue and Nalan Ziyun, the culprits who hurt Nalan Hushi, she did not have the intention to retaliate against others. But now, seeing this young man who was tortured in the underground by Nalan Jingza, she felt a strong killing intent in her heart. Who is this boy? Hushi walked slowly toward the young man lying on the ground, trying to restrain her aura as much as possible. The young boy's purple eyes stared at her while blinking. There was confusion in his eyes due to longing. There was fear due to yearning, but his trembling body kept retreating. Just when Hushi was about to approach the young boy, Nangongyu suddenly frowned. He quickly appeared next to Hushi and took her into his arms, making a gesture to hint that someone was coming. Hushi's heart was stunned. She quickly kept all the lighting crystal stones into her arms. She and Nangongyu jumped to a corner of the cave and hid their body. Losing the brief light and Hushi's figure, the boy lying on the ground became excited. The chain that restrained his neck trembled violently, making a ringing sound. There was also a low and dull sound, like the cry of a dying beast. Hushi finally knew why the voice she heard above was so dull, because the boy's face was covered by an iron cover. Hearing the desperate and sorrowful roar of the young man, it seemed as if he was calling. Hushi's body trembled for a while, and she almost couldn't help jumping down and telling the boy that she was still here. Nangongyu quickly hugged her in her arms and whispered in her ear, "Sheer, don't worry, I'm here." The man's low voice sounded in her ears. The clear breath filled the tip of his nose as if to say over and over again, "No matter what you want to do, I will accompany you until it is over." The original fierce heartbeat slowly subsided. Hushi stretched out her arm to embrace Nangongyu, took a deep breath, and condensed all her aura. At almost the same time, there was a slight sound of footsteps in the secret passage. Immediately afterward, the light in the small cave lit up, and Nalanjungza's suspicious face was soon reflected. Nalanjungza himself couldn't tell why. He always felt uneasy at the dinner tonight. Logically, I know about Nalan Yurong's plan. I also let someone monitor it by the side to ensure that nothing went wrong. Nalan Hushi was married into the Zhu family instead of Nalan Feishue. After her chastity is ruined by Zhu Zhongba, so what if King of Hell still wants to marry her again? Would he really want a woman who was ruined by the other? In this way, Nalan Hushi still can't escape from my hands, and Enlingyue's relic will sooner or later belong to me. After thinking about all the plans should be flawless. But at today's wedding banquet, he always felt like sitting on pins and needles as if something bad was happening. Nalanjungza quickly thought of his study room, and the great secret hidden under the study room. Please go to https://www.novelupdates.cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. No one should be able to go into my study room, and it is even more unlikely that someone can breach the array without notifying me. But what if someone really gets in? Nalanjungza frowned. He was cautious by nature, and he always followed the principle of killing someone by mistake rather than letting someone go. Therefore, he found an excuse to leave during the banquet and hurriedly came to the study room. Nalanjungza breathed a sigh of relief when he saw the security guards patrolling outside the study room, and heard them reported that there was nothing unusual. When he entered the study room, he found that the array was still intact. He was a little amused that he was too cautious. But since Nalanjungza was here, he decided to check it out so he could rest assured. A dark red light lit up in the cave. This was the fire attribute crystal stone used for lighting. The red light illuminated every corner of the small cave, and it finally shined on the young man restrained by the chains in the corner of the cave. The corner of Nalanjungza's mouth conjured up a satisfied smile. I was indeed worrying about the impossible thing. Who would have thought that there is such a big secret hidden in my study room? Who could come in here without notifying me? After the young man saw him, he shrank violently. Then he curled his whole body into a corner in a wailing voice. He was shaking slightly. Thinking of the figures he had just seen, the young man suddenly forgot his fear. He couldn't help struggling vigorously again, pulling the chains desperately and trying to rush out. The chains tightened his skin and flesh, causing his hands, feet and neck that were worn out to bleed a little. Nalan Jungza condescendingly looked at the noisy young man, and said with disgust, "What is the fuss? Haven't you suffered enough?" As he said, there was a whip in his hand, and he whipped it at the young man. The whip hit the young man, leaving a few more bloodstains on his already scarred body. Feeling the pain, the young man screamed. His whole body curled up, shivering and letting out a low whine. Then Nalan Jungza retracted the whip with satisfaction. He took out a plate and placed it on the ground. There was a cluster of green substance that emitted a sour smell on the plate. Nalan Jungza sneered. "Eat. After eating enough, you can only supply me with enough blood. Haha, my well-known detoxification pill in the Miluo continent, Juku Lingshan pill, still has to rely on you to provide me with the main medicine." Hushi and Nangongyu looked at each other in the hidden dark place on the top of the cave, and both eyes showed a shocking expression. The young man in the corner curled himself up into a ball. He was still whining as if he could not hear Nalan Jungza's voice. Nalan Jungza frowned. The whip in his hand whipped the ground fiercely. Then he said sternly, shouted, "Little beast, I ask you to eat it, you hear me?" The sound of the whip on the ground made the boy tremble violently. The next moment, the body rushed over like instinct, lying on the ground, sticking out his tongue to lick the sour food on the plate. In the dark hole, the young man put his hands on the ground. He kneeled down and buried his entire face in the food bowl. When he was eating, the smelly food covered his face, but he didn't seem to notice it. He ate very quickly. In just a few moments, the food on that plate was finished up. However, the boy's eating movement did not look like a human at all, but like a well-trained animal. Please go to https://www.novelupdates.cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Nalan Jungza looked at him licking the food residue on his hand, and he couldn't help showing a happy smile. He muttered crazily, "And Lingyue, have you seen it? Have you seen how your children end up? Ha ha. Look at what kind of monsters you gave birth to. One is a waste without spiritual root, and the other is a natural medicine man. One was abandoned by me in the countryside without enough foods and clothes. Even a servant can bully her. Now that she married to the fat pig, Zhu Zhongba, she is destined to end up miserably. The other one can only be imprisoned by me in this cave like a dog for a lifetime without a name and identity. He can only provide me the main medicine of the Juku Lingshan pill. And Lingyue, do you regret seeing the end of your 2 children in hell?" As Nalan Jungza said, his face was distorted. His eyes were full of resentment and jealousy. "If you were willing to obey me and become my true concubine and woman, I would naturally treat your children better. It's all your fault, because you bitch looked down on me. You didn't even let me touch you, and you even dared to think of leaving with your children. Hehe, what was the results? This is the results. Do you think that if you secretly seal the secret book and pill prescription in your daughter's body, I won't get anything? But you didn't expect that your son's blood has miraculous effects. Just by digging out the blood and flesh from him, our Nalan family became famous, and I also became the first physician of Jinling Kingdom." The cruelty in Nalan Jungza's eyes flashed away. He stared fiercely on the young boy in the corner. "And Lingyue, even if you die, I will never let your children end up well. This is the results of you looking down on me." With that said, Nalan Jungza raised the whip and struck the boy several times before he seemed the anger in his heart, and turned and left the secret room. Nalan family's dinner is not over yet. He still has to attend as the host. Before Nalan Jungza was completely gone, Hushi jumped down from the sky and landed in front of the young boy. The young boy was shocked by her appearance. His eyes filled with panic and fear. But when he saw her face clearly, the purple eyes couldn't help but show the excitement of eagerness to approach. Hushi closed his eyes, endured the brutality and tyranny of wanting to kill someone, and slowly approached the young boy. There was a whining sound from the young boy's mouth. His hands on the ground as if he was ready to make a move, And as if he was panicking, Nangongyu caught up from behind Hushi, took out the flying sword, and swiftly cut the chains on the young boy's hands. Although these chains were forged by dark steels, Nangongyu held the imitation version of sealed dragon sword in his hand, so it could easily cut them off. After the chains was cut off, the young boy was stunned on the spot. He didn't seem to think that he could be free at all. He raised his hands without chains, and there was a confused emotion in his eyes. Nangongyu approached and checked the helmet on the boy's head, and he shook his head at Hushi. The structure of this helmet is a bit complicated. If I break it open with a sword, the impact of the sword energy may hurt him. As soon as Nangongyu approached, the young boy quickly backed away. There was a whining sound in his mouth, and his eyes were full of horror and alert, but the feeling Nangongyu gave him was too strong, making him dare not do anything except shrinking himself into a ball. Please go to https://www.novelupdates.cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Hushi took a deep breath, walked slowly to the boy's side, and slowly squatted down in front of him. The two similar pairs of phoenix eyes looked at each other, and the purple lights were flickering. Hushi whispered in a soft tone like she never did it before. "Good boy, sit still and let me see, okay?" The boy tilted his head and made an inexplicable sound from his throat. Then, like a well-behaved shepherd dog, he squatted with his legs and hands on his chest. His instinctive reaction made Hushi's heart soar. Even though he was only Nalan Hushi's younger brother, seeing his situation, Hushi actually felt distressed. She didn't hesitate anymore, and checked the structure of the helmet. With just one look, Hushi's eyes surged with killing intent. Nalan Jungza is really sinister and vicious enough. The helmet on his head has a fine needle connected to his brain nerve. If the helmet is removed forcibly, the needle will pierce the boy's Baihui acupoint, causing him to bleed and die instantly. Even if I'm a miracle healer, I may not be able to save him in time. Moreover, fortunately, when Nalan Jungza was here just now, Nangongyu stopped me from acting rashly. Because there is a secret array in this helmet, the control JS probably in the hands of Nalan Jungza. As soon as there is a sudden change, Nalan Jungza is likely to activate the array and let the young boy die together with him. What a vicious Dr. Nalan. Hushi didn't dislike the dirty smell of the boy at all. She patted him on the shoulder lightly, and then took out a silver needle. The silver needle quickly pierced into the helmet several times. After a while, the helmet made a clicking sound. The needle was ejected upward, and it pierced the top of the cave. The helmet that was originally covered on the young boy's head split in half, and fell to the ground. Nangongyu took the illuminated crystal stone, and let the light shine on the young boy's face. It was a pale face without a trace of blood. Due to the squeezing of the helmet, this face looked extremely thin, but it could not conceal the outstanding facial features and delicate features of the young boy. Although this face was not so handsome that it would make everyone in the country move, it was 50% similar to Hushi's appearance as a man. Nangongyu didn't even have to guess. This should be Nalan Hushi's real brother. Hushi stared at the young boy in front of him blankly. The young man seemed to be a little uncomfortable with the heavy object on his face being removed. His dirty hands kept scratching his own face. There was a whining sound in his mouth, which sounded like a little puppy. Hushi reached out and pressed his hand and said hoarsely, "Don't move." She condensed pure water spiritual power in her palm. It slowly cleansed the mud and food waste on the young man's hand. The clean hand looked as pale as his face, thin and skinny. What was more frightening was that on these hands, there were all fine and dense scars. Some have not even healed, and they had become red and swollen due to infection. When she first saw the scars on the young man's wrist, she initially thought it was all caused by iron chains. Now she discovered that this wasn't a strangling mark, but it was cut by a sharp blade. Hushi gently stroked the boy's red and swollen scars, and she asked in a low voice, "Does it hurt?" The boy seemed to feel her depressed mood, and he immediately made a whining sound. Then he made a move that shocked Hushi. Please go to https://www.novelupdates.cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. The young boy grabbed Hushi's hand, put her palm close to his mouth, and blew gently. Hushi's whole body froze completely, and she looked at the boy in front of him in disbelief. The corners of the boy's mouth were lifted stiffly, as if he was laughing, but it became a weird muscle twitching. Seeing that Hushi still didn't smile, he thought she was still in sore pain, so he still grabbed her hand and blew again. Xiaoqi. Hushi let out a cry that was almost whine, and suddenly reached out her hand to stroke the young boy's face. She looked at the young man's face in a stun, not letting go of any details. The more she looked, the more she felt they looked alike. The eyebrows and facial features all seemed to look like her little brother, Xiaoqi, who had grown up. Not Nalan Hushi's younger brother, but the younger brother, Xiaoqi, who on her in the orphanage in her previous life. Hearing her shout, the young man seemed to be stunned, and a bewildered and stunned light flashed in his eyes. The purple eyes also stared at Hushi blankly. Then, like it was a miracle, the young boy opened his mouth and shouted 2 words in a hoarse and chaotic voice. Sister! Hot tears slipped from Hushi's eyes, wetting her clothes, but she didn't notice it. It was not clear whether the tears belonged to Hushi or Nalan Hushi, but the sister hit the softest part of her heart. Hushi hugged the boy's dirty and smelly body into her arms and murmured in a trembling voice, Xiaoqi! Xiaoqi! The little figure that stood in front of her again and again to protect her. The younger brother who was willing to walk into the hellish laboratory for her. He was the only relative she had in her previous life, and one that couldn't be replaced by someone else again. But now Xiaoqi appeared in front of her. No matter whether the boy in front of him was Nalan Hushi's younger brother or Hushi's younger brother, in this life, she will definitely protect this boy from any harm. When the boy was embraced by Hushi, he panicked for a moment, and he instinctively wanted to escape. But slowly, the familiar fragrance from Hushi's body came into his nose, which was a smell that made her extremely longing and miss. The young boy's nervous eyebrows slowly stretched out, and he obediently leaned his head on Hushi's shoulder. There was a gurgling sound in his throat that resembled a beast being smoothed. He even turned his head over because of excitement, and gently licked the skin on the side of Hushi's neck to express his intimacy and affection. Nan Gongyu, who had been watching by the side, had been hypnotizing himself that he was Hushi's brother, so he shouldn't be jealous and lose his temper. However, he couldn't bear it anymore. This little pervert, never mind that he threw himself into Hushi's arms. You actually dare to lick Sheer? Are you tired of living? Nan Gongyu stepped forward with a cold face, clasped the young boy's neck with one hand, and lifted him out of Hushi's arms. As soon as the boy was pulled away from Hushi, he immediately tightened his nerves. His face was full of fear and alert. However, when he felt the powerful aura emanating from Nan Gongyu, he immediately calmed down. It was just that the long abusive life made him feel dangerous. He couldn't help shivering and let out a low, heart-wrenching moan. Hushi immediately stood up nervously and shouted in a low voice, Nan Gongyu, what are you doing? Don't you know you will hurt him? Nan Gongyu frowned, and he looked at the young boy in his hand with more hostility. Please go to https://www.novelupdates.cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. This kid is really annoying. Sheer actually shouts at me for him. However, he didn't show his annoyance on the face. He just said in a gentle expression, Sheer, this is not a place for reminiscence. Let's leave here as soon as possible. This kid. Ahem, your brother has been locked up by Nalanjingza for so long, he may have did something to him. If he finds out, it will not be good. Hushi immediately realized it and looked at Nan Gongyu with guilt. Sorry, I lost my manner just now. You're right. We have to find a way to prevent Nalanjingza from discovering that Xiaoqi is missing. Nan Gongyu put the teenager on one side, hugged Hushi in his arms and said softly, Silly girl, how can I blame you? No matter what you want to do, I will always do it for you. You are the only wife of me, Nan Gongyu. As he said, he glanced fiercely at the ignorant and somewhat scared young boy. He warned with his eyes. Did you see it, brat? Your sister belongs to me, so stay away from her if you are smart. Hushi's face flushed. Her heart was touched and sweet. If it weren't for Nan Gongyu, I wouldn't know when I would find my own brother, and whether I could rescue him safely. Damn Nalanjingza, he actually used my brother's flesh and blood to get the title for miracle healer. He also kept my brother like an animal, letting him live a life that is worse than a pig or a dog. She originally didn't have much hatred for Nalan family. She was just holding the attitude of watching the good show from the side. But now it was different. Nalan Mansion, Nalanjingza. I hushly swear that I will make them pay thousands of times for what they did before. Thinking of this, Hushi's eyes flashed, and she suddenly sneered. Nan Gongyu, can I trouble you to do something for me? N. Bring someone in here for me. Nalan Ziyun regained consciousness with the smell of rancidity that made him want to vomit. He opened his eyes in a daze, then he soon saw a thin, pale but handsome young face. The young man got close to him, looking at him curiously with his head tilted, his eyes flashing with clear, doubtful gaze. Who are you? Nalan Ziyun stretched out his hand and pushed in a panic. While he was about to push the young boy's face, the young boy seemed to be frightened. He bit on Nalan Ziyun's hand. The sharp teeth tore open his skin, and even his bones felt the bite force. His blood gushed out all of a sudden. Oh! Nalan Ziyun let out an ear-piercing scream as he shrugged his hand. He felt an even more severe pain. When he took his hand back, he saw that a piece of flesh was bitten off the edge of his left palm. The intense pain caused a surge of anger and killing intent in Nalan Ziyun's heart. He, the young master, was so accustomed to being pampered. When did he have suffered such pain and humiliation? Looking at the young boy, a spine-chilling killing intent emitted from his eyes, and the spiritual power on his body fluctuated violently. The young man bared his teeth, holding a piece of meat in his mouth and showing a nervous, panic and alert expression. His hands were on the ground while he stared straight at Nalan Ziyun. Suddenly, a slender and white hand, like it was carved by a beautiful jade, lifted him up from the ground. The hand gently stroked the young man's hair, and she motioned for him to spit out the meat in his mouth. Please go to https://www.novelupdates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. The young boy showed a somewhat aggrieved and reluctant expression, but he obediently vomited the meat in his mouth in the end. Immediately afterward, Nalan Ziyun heard a clear and beautiful voice. Xiaoqi, you can't simply eat anything, especially human flesh. Eating it will only dirty your mouth and internal organs. Be good, sister will give you a lot of delicious foods in the future. You can eat as much as you want. This voice made Nalan Ziyun's eyes widen. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He recognized that this was Nalan Hushi's voice. Although her voice at this time seemed more attractive than Nalan Hushi's voice, he definitely recognized her tone when she said sister. Nalan Ziyun's gaze moved and looked beside the boy. However, when he saw the person standing next to the young man, he couldn't help but exclaimed, She you? How can it be you? That's right, the person wearing a black costume. His face looked shining under the light of the crystal stone. His handsome face was so pretty that no one could look away. If that person wasn't Shiyu who made brilliant results on breaking Spirit Mountain that day, who would it be? But, how could Shiyu appear here? And Nalan Ziyun looked at Shiyu's figure. The tight-fitting black costume outlined the girl's exquisite curves gracefully and deceptively. It was like a devilish arc, making people couldn't resist looking at her. This is clearly a woman? How could he be Shiyu? No. No way. Nalan Ziyun's eyes widened in shock, and he said in a tremble, Are you a woman? Miracle healer Shiyu is actually a woman. Hushi didn't pay attention to him. She poured out a glass of spirit spring water, and poured it into Xiaoqi's mouth, washing away the bloody smell. At this time, Xiaoqi was already wearing a somewhat large shirt, borrowed by Nan Gongyu, and his long sleeves and trouser legs covered the scars on his hands and feet. His hair had also been washed clean. It was curled up and tied by a jade hairband, showing a pale, thin but handsome face. It was just that Xiaoqi couldn't help wanting to scratch his head and face with his hands, so his hair that had just been neatly combed would always be messed up by him. After drinking the spirit spring water, Xiaoqi immediately showed a happy smile, muttering, Sister. Hushi's eyes looked tender as if water was about to flow out. Every time she heard him calling her sister, She felt that her brother who was dependent with her had back to her side. The past that made her despair and resentful, but she couldn't do anything, also quietly went away. Xiaoqi took Hushi's hand and bowed his head to get into her arms. However, before he could get close to Hushi, he was grabbed by the neck and pulled away. Xiaoqi let out an unwilling noise and was thrown aside mercilessly. A pair of hazy eyes stared at Hushi, with a look of longing and admiration, but because he was afraid of the owner of that hand, he didn't dare to approach her. Nangongyu took Hushi into his arms with satisfaction, and prevented the little pervert in his mind from taking advantage of Sheer. Then he chuckled softly. Why? Sheer wants to replace Xiaoqi with this guy? Hushi sneered. Her eyes finally fell on Nailan Ziyun, and she said with a half-smile, Didn't Nailan Jingza always want him to replace Xiaoqi? I'm fulfilling his wish now, isn't it just right? Please go to https://www.novelupdates.cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Nailan Ziyun had been surrounded by shock and disbelief. It wasn't until he saw Nangongyu showing up, seeing the intimacy of the two, and hearing Nangongyu calling her Sheer, he finally trembled uncontrollably. A terrible guess that he couldn't believe in death slowly appeared in his brain. His gaze stared at the beautiful girl in front of him, the girl who was carefully cared by King of Hell, Nangongyu in his arms, and he said tremblingly, You are Nailan Hushi? Hushi chuckled. That's right, I'm the ugly Nailan Hushi who is useless and has no talent for cultivation in your words. What, are you very surprised? No. How is this possible? Nailan Ziyun couldn't help but let out a sharp shout. How could you be Nailan Hushi? How could you be Nailan Hushi, that trash? How could it be? Hushi slowly squatted down, making a gentle smile, then she said slowly, I have to thank you for this, my dear brother. If it weren't for you trying to kill Nailan Hushi, so you made an illusion that the crown prince wanted to marry Nailan Hushi as the side concubine, why would Nailan Feishua want to get rid of me? If it weren't Nailan Feishua trying to get rid of me by selling me into the gluttonous house, putting me in such a hellish situation, how could I reborn into the Shiyu today? Nailan Ziyun stiffened for a while, and he suddenly screamed, You escaped from the dead, so you had unlocked Enlingyue's relics. You became Shiyu because of Enlingyue's relics. Nailan Ziyun obviously misunderstood Hushi's meaning, thinking that her change was because of getting Enlingyue's relics. But Hushi didn't intend to correct him. She looked at him with a half-smile. Nailan Ziyun thought he guessed it right, so he couldn't feeling a violent surge in his chest. Enlingyue's relics. It really is the relics of Enlingyue. That relics can turn the cowardly, incompetent and unremarkable Nailan Hushi into Shiyu. That's Shiyu, who owns Shengda Hall, and is accepted as a discipline by the mysterious and powerful pill refiner. He can heal broken veins and had astounding results in the Breaking Spirit Mountain big hunting match. Even more shocking is that if Shiyu is Nailan Hushi, then in just a few months, Nailan Hushi has advanced from a mortal who has no cultivation base to the peak of the foundation establishment stage. What a terrifying advancement speed is this. If it was me who got the relics of Enlingyue, then I Nailan Ziyun would definitely stand on the top of the Miluo continent and be the subject of everyone's admiration and admiration. Thinking of this, Nailan Ziyun's breathing became rapid. He stared at Hushi greedily and resentfully, and he said loudly, Nailan Hushi, why do you keep mother's relics for yourself only? You're Enlingyue's child, and I'm Enlingyue's child too. I should have a share of mother's relics. What's more, I'm a male. It should be me who really inherits the family business. What do you mean by secretly training using the relics after unlocking it? Are you worthy of your mother? Hushi couldn't help but want to laugh out loud. At this point, Nailan Ziyun could still actually ask her for Enlingyue's relics in such an righteous manner. She had to admire that his face was really thick. Please go to https://www.novelupdates.cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. When Nailan Ziyun saw Hushi's face looked odd, he thought she was guilty. He immediately slowed down his tone and coaxed, Nalan Hushi, if you remember a little bit of Mother's dying words and the friendship between us, then hurry up and hand over Enlingyue's relics and let me keep them. Don't worry, when I have peerless cultivation become a pill refiner at the Grand Master level, you will the sister of the Grand Master. Won't you feel glorious by the time, right? Hushi was about to speak, but she saw the young boy, who had been hiding in the corner, suddenly pounce toward Nalan Ziyun fiercely. Nalan Ziyun's cultivation was naturally higher than Xiaoqi, but he was in agitated mood at this time. He didn't pay attention to the surrounding environment, so he was caught off guard by Xiaoqi and got hit the ground. His face slammed heavily into the mud, and the smell of mud rushed into his nose accompanied by the smell of excrement and urine, and the sour smell of food. There were even a few small bugs that got in through his nose, and kept plopping deep into his nose. Nalan Ziyun was so frightened that he screamed. He got up with difficulty and sneezed out the bugs from his nose. He glared at the boy who just pushed him down. However, he saw that the young boy had already rushed to Hushi's side at this time. Clutching her sleeve and showing an aggrieved and panicked expression, he said in a stuttering voice, "My sister. Xiaoqi, be good." Hushi gently stroked the boy's face. Her voice was soft and soothing. "Sister has only Xiaoqi, and I will only like Xiaoqi, don't worry." Hearing this, the young man immediately calmed down. His eyes were filled with happiness. He rested his hands on his chest like a faithful dog who had just seen its master. Seeing the young boy's instinctive actions like a domesticated beast, Hushi sighed. A feeling of sorrow and grief surged in his heart. Afterward, she looked at Nalan Ziyun and sneered. "Nalan Ziyun, sometimes I can't help but admire you and Nalan Jingza for the thick face. Knowing that you are not Enlingyue's child, knowing that we do not have any blood relationship, but you keep saying mother's relics in front of me. Haha, even if there is a so-called mother's relics, what does this have to do with you, Nalan Ziyun?" Nalan Ziyun's eyes widened suddenly, and there were waves of unspeakable panic in his heart. This time he was really panicked. Fear, anxiety, shock and panic all came up together. He didn't know where this place was, or why did Nalan Hushi bring him here. He only remembered that he drugged Hushi. He thought he got it, but he turned around and saw her half-smile face. Nalan Ziyun thought Hushi brought him here to vent out her anger. But he never thought that Hushi would want to kill him. Because Nalan Ziyun was the younger brother of Nalan Hushi, the closest person to her in this world. Even if Nalan Hushi killed everyone, she wouldn't kill her own brother, right? But at this moment, Nalan Ziyun finally panicked. Nalan Hushi actually suspected that he was not her own brother. How could this be possible? Didn't his father say that when Nalan Hushi's real brother died, she was only 4 or 5 years old, and she didn't remember anything at all? Nalan Ziyun suppressed the panic in his heart, and he forced an awkward smile. "Sister, what are you talking about? Who else would I be if I'm not your brother?" Please go to https://www.qzxyzy.com/the king of hell is genius pampered wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Have you forgotten? When we were young, we played together in XINU house. When the second sister bullied us, you still protected me behind. Sister, don't joke anymore. It's my fault last night. I shouldn't set you up with Nalan Feishua. But I can't help it. Nalan Feishua and Nalan Yurong force me to do so. If I don't do this, they will kill me. Actually, I have planned to steal the antidote for sister after they left. I definitely won't let sister marry Zhu family. Sister, you believe me, okay? Hushi raised her eyebrows and smiled. Nalan Ziyun, I'm so curious. Didn't you keep saying that you didn't have a useless sister like me? Nalan Jingza told you in the study room that when you and I are not real brothers and sisters. Aren't you very happy? Why did you suddenly change your mind just now? You keep calling sister. Do you think the word sister is cheap? How do you know? Nalan Ziyun yelled in horror. How do you know what my father said to me in the study room? You. Nalan Hushi, are you a human or a ghost? What else did you discover? Hushi's eyes were faint and cold. She sneered. What did I discover? Nalan Jingza said that I'm not his biological daughter. Does that count? You said you wanted to pretend to be my brother and defraud Enlingyue's relics from me. Does that count? You two plan to marry me to the Zhu family to let me be tortured, so that I will seek help from Nalan family and hand out Enlingyu as relics in the end. Does that count? The more Hushi said, the more Nalan Ziyun's body trembled, and the panic on his face became more and more obvious. His body moved back unconsciously, and his voice was trembling. Nalan Hushi, you. What do you want to do? Don't forget that I'm the young master of the Nalan family. If you kill me, my father won't let you go. And although you are not the child of Nalan family has done its duty to support you for so many years. How can you requite kindness with enmity? Wouldn't you be afraid of being punished by God? Done its duty to support me for so many years? Hushi couldn't help laughing. Why do you know? Your dear father, Nalan Jingza, was standing here just now. He said, Enlingyu has 2 children. One was raised into a useless person, and left in the courtyard to be bullied. Even the servants can beat and scold her. The other was tortured by him in every possible way, living a life that was worse than an animal. Is this what doing its duty to support me for many years like you said? Endless panic surged in Nalan Ziyun's heart. His body was trembling as he shouted incoherently, I don't know. I really don't know anything. It has nothing to do with me. I'm even Qixing Palace's disciple. If you kill me, you will not end well. Please don't kill me, don't. As he spoke, he saw Nan Gongyu. He rushed over, knelt on the ground, and kowtowed to Nan Gongyu. Your Highness King of Hell, help me, please help me. I'm the young master of Nalan family. As long as you save me, Nalan family will become your possessions and work for you. And my beautiful elder sister, she is Master Shukong's disciple. If you want, I can give her to you as a concubine. Please go to https://www.qzxyzy.com/the King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. I'm my father's most important son. In the future, I will be able to inherit the Nalan family. The Juku Lingshan pill prescription of the Nalan family will definitely fall into my hands. Your Highness King of Hell, as long as you save me, all these are yours, please, save me. Nan Gongyu half smiled and glanced at Nalan Ziyun, who was kneeling and kowtowing at him. He then looked at Hushi and said helplessly, Sheer, there are always people who want to give me a woman. But Sheer can rest assured, my heart only has you. I will definitely protect my chastity for you. Damn your chastity. Hushi pushed away the head that came close. She said irritably, Shut up. Don't talk nonsense. Nan Gongyu only squeezed her little hand with a smile, and he stopped talking. The atmosphere between the two was intimate and sweet, but in Nalan Ziyun's eyes, his heart sank a little bit. Obviously, His Highness King of Hell only had Nalan Hushi in his eyes. He would not save Nalan Ziyun at all. Nalan Ziyun suddenly looked at Hushi and said tremblingly, Third sister, you, let me go. I'll steal the Juku Lingshan pill prescription from father's hand for you, okay? Right. Nalan Ziyun seemed to have suddenly remembered something, and he immediately said loudly, Third sister, I heard father said that he still has a trump card in his hand that can control you. He mentioned that as long as he still has this in his hand, you have to listen to him. Even if you marry to King of Hell, you will come back obediently. Third sister, don't you want to know what father has in his hand? I can help you find out. As long as you don't kill me, I will help you. Third sister. Hushi slowly squatted down and looked at him again. Then she looked into his eyes and chuckled. Nalan Ziyun, don't you know what Nalan Jing's trump card is? But I know. Should I tell you? Nalan Ziyun trembled again. He widened his eyes in fear. Hushi continued. Do you know? I came to this place with difficulties. Do you know what this place is? This is the underground of the Nalan Jing's study room. In this underground, I found this cave. There was a young man in the cave. He had an iron chain on his body and an iron helmet on his head. He couldn't speak, and he could only make the sound of beasts. He ate and excreted in this cave every day. All living environments are only this square land. The rancid smell of excrement, rotten and moldy meals, daily whipping and insults, fear and pain of blood dripping from the cut wound. He was enduring all these every day. Hushi said slowly. Her voice became cold and dull as if it contained gruesome killing intent. I was hiding above this cave, and I saw Nalan Zhengze walked in here, whipped the young man, and threw a dish of rotten food. Let him kneel down like a beast to lick. Then he said in Lingyue, look at what your biological son looks like now. My dear brother, you say, who is the biological son of An Lingyue in Nalan Zhengze's mouth? Nalan Ziyun's whole body seemed to be frozen. Fear and despair made his blood cold, and his hands and feet even trembled uncontrollably. His gaze moved slowly, and it finally landed on the young boy beside him. The young boy tilted his head, met his gaze, grinned, and stared at him fiercely as if to warn him not to rob his sister. He was even making beast-like roars from his mouth. Please go to https://www.qzxyzy.com/the king of hell is genius pampered wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Hushi looked at Nalan Ziyun's stiff appearance and couldn't help but sneered. Didn't you say that you want to bring me the Juku Lingshan pill prescription? I can tell you what is the main medicine of Juku Lingshan pill now. She walked up to the young boy, gently pulled his hand and pulled up his sleeve. The hideous scars on his arm were revealed. The old and new scars were intertwined, depicting messy and bloody patterns. You understand now? Hushi whispered slowly. The so-called Juku Lingshan pill that can cure all kinds of poisons, that let Nalan Zhengze becomes Jinling Kingdom's first miracle healer. All it contains is the flesh and blood of my brother. As Hushi said, she looked at Nalan Ziyun and smiled. You tell me Nalan Zhengze has tortured me and my brother for more than 10 years so frantically. How should I repay him? For example, let him discover that Juku Lingshan pill has lost its effectiveness in curing poison. Let his reputation be ruined, and let him lose the title as a doctor, becoming a person hated by everyone? Later, he will find that the person he tortures is his most precious son. Don't you think that is great? Nalan Ziyun trembled suddenly. He finally couldn't take it anymore. He screamed in horror, No. No. Forgive me. Sister, you forgive me, I beg you. That's father, no, that's what that animal, Nalan Zhengze did. It has nothing to do with me. I'm begging you, please forgive me. He looked at the silly young boy who was licking her hand like a puppy. Then he thought of something. He shouted, Sister, look, that the real Nalan Ziyun is already a useless person. He is raised into an idiot by Nalan Zhengze. He is less than an animal. He has no intelligence at all. And he cannot help sister. I'm different. I'm talented and I'm even Qixing Palace's disciple. I will inherit the Nalan family in the future. As long as sister spares me, I will definitely treat you as my real sister in the future. For my sister, I will be more useful than this idiot. Hushi squinted her eyes and watched his speech, with affection and eloquence. Her eyes were cold and she didn't speak. Nalan Ziyun thought she was moved by him, so he rushed to Nalan Hushi's feet, crawled under her and said, Sister, if you still don't believe me, you can give me a slave soul mark. I will be loyal to sister, and will never betray again. Even if my sister asks me to kill Nalan Zhengze, I will never hold back. Compared to that brother who is like a beast, isn't it more decent and more useful for sister to have me as your brother? Does sister want to be laughed at in the future that you have such an idiot beast-like brother? Sister, you are so smart. You know how to choose right. Hushi finally couldn't help it and laughed lowly. Nalan Ziyun raised his head in horror, and looked at the smile on Hushi's face in confusion. Hushi lowered her head and slowly said, Nalan Ziyun, these are your true words? Because when you thought Nalan Hushi was really your sister, you thought that way. Having such a weak and ugly sister, how embarrassing was that? Therefore you wished her to die? You borrowed Nalan Feishua's hand to get rid of me. Then Nalan Hushi really died. She died in your hands. Please go to https://www.qzxyzy.com/the king of hell is genius pampered wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Nalan Ziyun forced a smile. Sister, what are you talking about? Aren't you still alive standing in front of me? Hushi turned her wrist, and a silver needle appeared in her hand. Her phoenix eyes were cold and sharp. She looked at Nalan Ziyun with a faint purple light as she said word by word. Nalan Ziyun, I told you so much nonsense today, because I just want to tell you a sentence that the previous Nalan Hushi wanted to tell you. There will be retribution in what you have done. Nalan Ziyun, it's time for you to pay your debts. As soon as she said that, the silver needle was inserted neatly into Nalan Ziyun's acupoint on his neck. Nalan Ziyun's eyes widened in horror. His eyes were full of hatred, unwillingness and despair. He had already realized what kind of terrifying future and ending awaited him. However, there was no turning back now. Confirming that Nalan Ziyun has passed out, Hushi quickly disguised his eyes, mouth and body. In the void, there were the utensils she used to disguise. Of course, there were also fake pupils, so she put the fake pupils on Nalan Ziyun. She made several scars that were exactly the same as Xiaoqi's scars. There were also old and new scars on his body. She did a certain amount of disguise. At least for a short period of time, no one would be able to notice it. Afterward, Hushi began to stretch out her hand to peel off Nalan Ziyun's clothes. Seeing this, Nangongyu finally couldn't sit still. He pulled the girl close to his arms and said with a sullen face, "Don't look at other men's bodies. I'll forget about Xiaoqi, that kid. They are brother and sister, and his body was so dirty that his skin couldn't be seen clearly. How can I let Sheer strip his clothes and even see his body? It must not be allowed." Therefore, His Royal Highness King of Hell could only remove Nalan Ziyun's clothes by himself. He also applied mud, food residue and disgusting excrement on his body. After finishing all this, he put on the iron helmet and chains for him. The unconscious Nalan Ziyun curled up in the corner, looking exactly like Xiaoqi. Nangongyu then cleaned himself up while allowing Hushi to turn around to check the results. Hushi was naturally very satisfied with the result. She just thought that the noble king of hell actually could condescend himself to do that. She couldn't help feeling touched in her heart. Xiaoqi tilted his head and looked at the figure lying on the ground curiously. His eyes were emitting purple rays. He felt so familiar with such a scene. He was so familiar that the sorrow and despair surged in his chest, but he had an unspeakable hope. Tears slowly flowed down from his face. Hushi touched Xiaoqi's head and smiled at Nangongyu. Nangongyu picked up Xiaoqi's neck, hugged Hushi with the other hand, and disappeared from the cave. The underground cave became quiet and dark again, like a corner forgotten by the world. It was more lonely than the cage and colder than the tomb. There would be an endless hellish despair waiting for the man inside the cave. The Zhu family mansion. Throughout the night, Mr. Zhu smiled complacent. Zhu Zhongba even toasted with all the guests with his big fat belly. He was smiling happily. Hearing the envy of everyone in his ears, Zhu Zhongba was even more irritated. He couldn't wait to consummate with his pretty wife. After drinking a lot of alcohol, Zhu Zhongba finally finished the toast. He walked toward his bridal chamber hastily. Please go to https://www.qzxyzy.com/the king of hell is genius pampered wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Seeing that his son was leaving, Zhu Yichun quickly stuffed him with a pill. He smiled evilly. "Son, you also know that the little lady Nalan family is not happy to marry you. She may cause trouble tonight. You smash this pill when you enter the room. Then she won't have the strength to resist you. Once you get her body, she will be yours completely." Zhu Zhongba was a little stupid, but not completely stupid. He immediately smiled in understanding when he saw the pill. The father and son were whispering, but they didn't know that two women dressed as a maid were looking at this side coldly not far away. One of the maids in a lotus-colored floral dress said in a low voice, "The fat pig of the Zhu family is really shameless. He even dares to covet our miss. Is he worthy of our miss with his ugly and disgusting appearance? Sister Si-Chin, should we destroy that pill?" The other maid called Si-Chin sneered. "Idiot, what should we destroy it? Isn't it better for Fatty Zhu to use the pill? Don't forget, Nalan Hushi lies in the room. After Fatty Zhu uses it, what is done can't be undone. By the time. Even if Nalan Hushi says that she is wronged, do you think anyone would believe her?" As Si-Chin, a cold and harsh expression slowly appeared between her brows. She was Nalan Feishua's personal maid, and she was likely to become her Miss husband's concubine when her Miss marries. If Nalan Feishue could marry the crown prince and become the crown prince's wife, then one day she would become the crown prince's concubine. She could even become the emperor's favorite concubine one day. Compared to Nalan Feishue marrying the fat pig, Zhu Zhongba, the treatment was totally different. Therefore, Si Qin would never allow it. She must let Fatty Zhu and Nalan Hushi match successfully. You go and give Fatty Zhu a hangover soup. Make sure that he can't see who the bride is when he enters the room. A meaningful smile appeared on Si Qin's face. The maid, who was wearing a lotus-colored flower dress, immediately leaned forward intently. Master Zhu, you are the bridegroom tonight. How can you become drunk? What if you scare our miss? Seeing the maid, who sent him the hangover soup, was pretty, Zhu Zhongba was bewildered in his heart. He took the bowl and drank without hesitation. When returning the bowl to the maid, he also stretched out his fat hand and touched the maid's smooth face, muttering, "What a beautiful girl. I will ask your miss to marry me in the future. I'll let you become my 11th concubine. You will enjoy a good treatment in the future." The maid smiled to go along with him, but she was extremely disgusted with the fat man in her heart. When she thought of the person inside and the joke between the Zhu mansion and Nalan Hushi tomorrow, her face showed a sinister smile again. Zhu Zhongba drank the hangover soup sent by the maid. When he walked into the room, he was already dizzy. In fact, as a martial artist, ordinary wine wouldn't make them drunk. But Zhu Zhongba's cultivation was too low after all. He was just at the qi refining stage. Together with the soup which was given by Nalan Yurong to the maid, the effect was amazing. It could let Zhu Zhongba hallucinate, but he wouldn't lose consciousness and the ability to act. Si Qin and the maid stood by the door, waiting quietly. Sure enough, the sound of two body clashing came from the inside. There were also muffled shout, screams, pantings, moans, and cryings. Please go to https://www.qzxyzy.com/the king of hell is genius pampered wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Hushi originally planned to stay alone in Nalan Mansion until the revenge was completed before leaving, but the appearance of Xiao Qi made her change her plan. She remembered when she was in the Morong Mansion, the man in gray who suddenly appeared because of Morong Feng's death. If she left Xiao Qi by her side, what if an expert of the nascent soul stage appeared and hurt Xiao Qi? Hushi originally wanted to send Xiao Qi back to Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory. That should be the safest place, but it was stopped by Nan Gongyu. One was that Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory was outside the city, which made it inconvenient to come and go at night. The other was that besides those traumatic injuries, there should be many hidden diseases on Xiao Qi, so he needed better treatment and protection. Nan Gongyu said, "Sheer, I admit that I have seen countless rare materials in the world, but I have never heard that someone or martial artist's blood can cure all kinds of poisons, reviving the dying person, and letting fresh grow on bone. There should be an important secret in your brother's body. Why don't we send him to my mansion? Let me protect him, then his personal safety will be guaranteed." After weighing, Hushi agreed without hesitation. Nan Gongyu looked at the sleepy teenager who was being carried in his hands, and a slight smile was raised at the corner of his mouth. Sheer's younger brother? If he lives in the King of Hell Mansion, I believe Sheer will visit him from time to time, and I don't have to worry about this damn boy always throwing himself to Sheer. The three rushed to King of Hell Mansion overnight. It was already midnight now. Although there was still light in the King of Hell Mansion, it was silent. Qinglong and Bai Hu, who were guarding the house, immediately greeted Nan Gongyu when they sensed the arrival of Nan Gongyu. When he saw Hushi next to Nan Gongyu, Bai Hu's eyes immediately lit up. "Princess." Hushi frowned. She always felt that Bai Hu was looking at her like she was fat meat. As he was being stared by Nan Gongyu's stern eyes, Bai Hu leaned in front of Hushi and said, "Princess, I heard Wu Yu say that you let him taste a lot of delicious food in Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory. I even searched for Princess outside the secret territory in vain. I didn't even get to have a meal in the end. Princess, you can't be unfair. You prepared delicious foods for Wu Yu. You can't just not prepare for me, right?" Hushi's mouth twitched. As she was about to speak, Nan Gongyu waved his sleeve, and Bai Hu was thrown far away. Sheer, ignore him, let's go in. Nan Gongyu didn't care about Bai Hu's grievance in his eyes at all. He held Hushi in one hand and Xiaoqi in the other, walking into his house. Qinglong glanced at Xiaoqi, who had fallen asleep and still had saliva in the corner of his mouth, and he couldn't help saying, "Master, this is Sheer's brother." Nan Gongyu said faintly, "He will live in the mansion for a period of time in the future. You know what to do, right?" "Yes, master." Qinglong couldn't help raising his eyebrows. It turns out to be the younger brother of the princess. It's no wonder that the master who never let strangers get close would carry such a person. In the huge room. A sleepy Xiaoqi was lying on the bed. Hushi used her spiritual power to check his meridians, and Dantian over and over again. However, no matter how she checked, there was nothing wrong with his body except for some weakness and excessive loss of blood. Hushi couldn't help frowning. In Nalan Hushi's impression, Xiaoqi disappeared when he was about 5 years old. He should have his memory and mind at that time. If it weren't for drug control or brain damage, it would be impossible for him to be reared like a beast as he was now. He didn't have a sound mind at all. Please go to https://www.qzxyzy.com/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Hushi at first thought that Nalan Hushi let Xiaoqi take the medicine that would make him lose his mind, so he became like a beast now. However, after some examination, there was no sign of being poisoned at all. His mind was intact. There was no sign of injury. In other words, with her younger brother's current situation, if she could put some effort in teaching him, it wasn't enough to let him gain the wisdom to live like a human. Hushi couldn't help frowning as she watched the young boy who slept soundly on the bed, but habitually maintained the sleeping posture of a puppy. Obviously, this was beyond the scope of medical skills which couldn't be solved by Hushi now. What should I do? Do I really want to see my brother living like a beast? Without dignity? Without wisdom? How can I allow it? Hushi raised her head. Her eyes were a little confused looking at Nan Gongyu. She said in a low voice, "Nan Gongyu, can you save Xiaoqi?" Nan Gongyu sighed and finally got up from the chair. He took a few steps forward, embracing the girl's soft body in his arms, and pinching the tip of her nose. He chuckled softly. "You heartless little girl, after watching your brother for so long, you finally noticed my existence? I almost become a husband-waiting rock." So long? Hushi couldn't help but looked around, only to realize that the sun was rising on the sky outside the window that was originally black. This must be at least 2 or 3 hours, right? Nan Gongyu just sits next to me and waits for me? A touch of guilt surged in Hushi's heart, but she felt more warm and sweet. She grabbed the man's big palm and gently rubbed the thin callus on his palm, not knowing what to say for a while. Nan Gongyu looked at the haggard and cyan under her eyes, and his heart felt distressed. After all, the person lying on the bed was Sheer's brother. He had known Sheer for so long, and he had never seen her emotions fluctuate so vigorously today. No wonder she was so worried. "Don't worry, no matter what disease your brother has, I will find a way to cure him." Nan Gongyu took the first 2 steps and channeled a wave of spiritual power to pour into Xiaoqi's body. After a while, he couldn't help frowning. There was a dignified look in his eyes. Hushi couldn't help but said, "Did you find anything?" Nan Gongyu shook his head, nodded again, and then closed his eyes tightly. He separated a strand of divine sense into Xiaoqi's body. After a long time, Nan Gongyu opened his eyes and exhaled slowly. His face was a little pale, and the blackness under his eyes was heavier as if he had been greatly depleted. Hushi quickly took out a bottle of 9th secluded spirit spring, and let him drink it slowly. Holding her slender wrist, Nan Gongyu chuckled while drinking water. "My princess is really virtuous, knowing that I'm thirsty, so you personally feed me the water." Hushi glared at him, ignoring his ridicule. She checked his pulse carefully. After making sure that it was just his vitality depleting and weakening, she was relieved. After Nan Gongyu drank 9th secluded spirit spring, his face looked better quickly. He then put away his hippie smile, and said with dignified, "Sheer, Your brother's 3 spiritual souls and 7 physical souls, 3 hun and 7 pa. It seems that a part is lacking. 3 spiritual souls and 7 physical souls? Hushi exclaimed. How is it possible? I remember that there are records in ancient books that Miluo continent does have some evil martial artists who use the spell of soul stealing. However, no matter which kind of spell, it is impossible to hurt the human brain at all. Please go to https://www.qzxyzy.com/the king of hell is genius pampered wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. It's like Gui Dao. Shunhe's soul was drained by Mirong Feng. I can detect by just checking his pulse. However, I can't detect any internal injuries on Xiaoqi. Nangongyu frowned and said, Sheer, I believe you must know that a normal person has 3 spiritual souls and 7 physical souls. The 3 souls are divided into the main soul, the enlightened soul, and the living soul. Among them, the enlightened soul is in charge of human thought and wisdom. Once the soul is swallowed, and the other 2 souls are retained, the person will retain his original vitality and have a keen reaction, but they can't have wisdom like normal people, let alone cultivation. Hushi nodded, then she immediately shook her head. But I have never heard that there were the methods of extracting souls that can choose which soul to drain. It's true. Nangongyu smiled coldly and slowly said, Soul extraction spells can't do it, but there is something insidious that can be done. I think Sheer must be familiar with it. What is it? Before Hushi's words were finished, Nangongyu spread his hand, and a small red insect-like thing appeared in his palm. Hushi's pupils shrank suddenly, and her heart seemed to be tightened for a moment. Voodoo. Yes, voodoo. Nangongyu's expression was not much better than her. There were even hostility and murderous intention in between his eyebrows. The voodoo that cursed Xiaoqi should be soul-eating voodoo. Soul-eating voodoo is generally cultivated to a few types. Some like yin souls, some like yang souls, some like 7 physical souls. The voodoo insect cultivator can let the soul-eating voodoo choose the specific soul to devour based on the difference in cultivation, but it won't harm the target's life at all. It's just, Nangongyu paused. It's just that the process of raising voodoo insects is extremely difficult. During this period, human souls will be used to feed the voodoo insects. To successfully cultivate a soul-eating voodoo insect, it is very likely that the human life of a whole city needs to be sacrificed. Hushi took a breath. Voodoo, it's the voodoo again. Last time at Breaking Spirit Mountain, she was almost dead to voodoo. If Nangongyu didn't arrive in time, the consequences would be unimaginable. Now Xiaoqi, her only brother, was being harmed by this soul-eating spirit again. It seems that she could no longer take it lightly by relying on her medical skills and poisoning skills. In this strange world, there were many things that could kill her. She must be careful and find a way to deal with it. Hushi couldn't help saying, I remember you said last time that it is extremely difficult to cultivate voodoo. The cost is huge. It is by no means a small family or a small sect can afford. Feng Lianying was able to take out voodoo last time. Could this matter also be related to Feng family? Nangongyu remembered the weird formation in the Nailanjing's study room. Then he squinted slightly and said, maybe it is the Feng family, or it may be a person of higher position. In addition, Sheer, you have mistaken about one thing. It isn't Feng family that can cultivate voodoo insect, but the Valley Master of the Thousand Poison Valley, that is Feng Lianying's master. Thousand Poison Valley's master? Hushi frowned and looked at her younger brother who was lying on the bed. Is the soul-eating voodoo still in Xiaoqi? Is there a way to take it out? Soul-eating voodoo has been taken out long ago. Nangongyu shook his head. This is also the reason why your brother can maintain a sense of reason and recognize you. Moreover, soul-eating voodoo has its own preferences, but if it stays in a person for a long time, it will devour all the souls of the host due to hunger. Then, Xiaoqi will not just lose his reason, but he will also become a soulless corpse. Please go to https://www.qzxyzy.com/the king of hell is genius pampered wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Soul-eating voodoo was taken out? Hushi frowned deeper. There were scruples and worries in her eyes, but there was more chilling cold. Who planted the soul-eating voodoo in Xiaoqi and who took it out? Could it be Nalan Jingze? This man planted the soul-eating voodoo in Xiaoqi, but he took it out again. What was it for? It couldn't be that he felt guilty, right? This is exactly what makes me feel strange. Nangongyu said. When I checked Xiaoqi's body just now, I felt a familiar aura at his dantian. When my divine sense touched this aura, the love-devouring voodoo, who is kept in my spiritual pet bag, was agitated. It seemed to want to escape. I think soul-eating voodoo was being taken because of the strange aura in his dantian. Hushi was stunned. She quickly used the spiritual power to carefully check his brother dantian. But this time, she didn't choose to use water spiritual power, but the wood spiritual power that was the origin of everything. When the wood spiritual power entered Xiaoqi's dantian and slowly rotated in it, a green light instantly spread from Xiaoqi's dantian to all his limbs. The next moment, something magical happened. The scar that hadn't fully healed on Xiaoqi's body was scarred in the blink of an eye. Xiaoqi, who was originally asleep, also grumbled and opened his eyes. When the purple eyes reflected Hushi's figure, he immediately jumped in excitement, threw himself into Hushi's arms, and hugged her tightly. He kept muttering, "Sister, sister." Hushi was surprised to find that this time, his voice and tone were much smoother. The movements of leaping over and hugging her just now were more agile, and more like a person. Could it be that the green light just now allows Xiaoqi's wounds to heal non-stop, and finally survived Nalan Jingze's torture? It was also the green light that caused Xiaoqi to expel, or even kill the soul-eating voodoo that was originally in his body. As Hushi was about to try to condense the wood spiritual power again, suddenly, the teenager who was in her arms was pulled up by the collar. Nangongyu, with a cold face, threw away the boy who was grinning at him, and hugged Hushi into his arms as to show dominance. The icy gaze fell on Xiaoqi's body. He lowered his head and warm lips to kiss Hushi's forehead. Then he slowly and gently said, "Did you see? Your sister is my woman. I can forgive you since you are her brother. However, if you jump into Hushi's arms again, don't blame me for being impolite." When Nangongyu glared, the boy who was still grinning immediately lowered his head, showing a grieved and scared expression. His hands were hanging on his chest. His mouth was making a whining sound. His long hair was drooping. The pair of purple eyes were under his hair. He looked very pitiful no matter how. Hushi slapped Nangongyu's face away irritably, and she couldn't help but smile. "Don't make trouble. Xiaoqi is my brother. Younger brother is also a man. I don't allow you to be so close to him." Nangongyu reached out and hugged her back. Before Hushi got angry, he quickly said with a serious face, "Sheer, I remember what that familiar feeling is. This kid's body is sealed with a powerful force like you, but yours is sealing chaos dantian, and his is sealing an item. It was that item that allowed him to expel the soul-eating voodoo and protect his remaining souls." Hushi was really diverted. She immediately said, "Do you know what that item is? Please go to https://www.qzxyzy.com/the king of hell is genius pampered wife/ to read the latest chapters for free." Nangongyu shook his head. "I don't know, but I feel that the power of this item is very powerful. Even I may not be able to control it. So Sheer, before you have enough confidence, you better don't use with spiritual power to stimulate the boy's dantian. Otherwise, once this power bursts out, it is likely that Xiaoqi will not be able to bear it, and he will eventually collapse and die." Hushi frowned. "Why do I feel that this description is so familiar? Then can Xiaoqi's soul be completely repaired?" Nangongyu chuckled. "Don't worry. Although the mysterious thing in his body is dangerous and unstable, it will continue to nourish his body before it erupts and keep his incomplete soul intact. During this period, we can look for the Divine Soul Jade. Divine Soul Jade can nourish human souls, and Xiaoqi's soul is not seriously damaged. I believe that with the nourishment of Divine Soul Jade, he will slowly recover his mind. It's just that it's very likely that even if it recovers, his mind will only be at the level of a newborn baby. It needs to be taught slowly from the beginning. Hushi let out a long sigh of relief. She grabbed Xiaoqi's hand, gently pulled his messy hair behind her ears and whispered, Xiaoqi, as long as you can recover, sister will definitely teach you to read, speak, and cultivate to make you the most outstanding youth. This time, sister will definitely protect you. Xiaoqi couldn't understand Hushi's words, but he felt her intimacy and love. He showed a bright smile on his face. He slept on the bed with half of his face resting on Hushi's hand. He slowly closed his eyes. He mumbled, then he smiled slightly as if he was making a sweet dream. Nangongyu put his arms around his chest and watched this sweet scene coldly. He secretly recorded this boy's mistake in his mind. In the future, I must keep Sheer away from this stinky boy. Absolutely. Today is the first day after the wedding of Nalan family and the Zhu family. Mrs. Nalan and Nalan Yurong stayed up all night, staring at the shocking news from the Zhu family. However, what they didn't expect was that the Zhu mansion was unexpectedly calm for whole day. There weren't any sensational news, let alone the speech that Mrs. Nalan and Nalan Yurong prepared to deal with the Zhu family's father and son. Last night there was no news about the consummation. It could still be explained as Zhu Zhongba was getting confused that he didn't see the bride clearly. However, it was impossible to not have any news from the Zhu family in the morning. Nalan Yurong paced around in the room a little anxiously. A faint anxiety arose in her heart. Mrs. Nalan couldn't help but said, Yurong, don't worry about it. Everything we arrange is seamless. There will be no mistakes. Nalan Yurong frowned and said, Mother, are you sure that sister is gone? Where is she now? Of course she is gone. I'm the one who watched her leave. Mrs. Nalan smiled. She has already accepted Nalan Ziyun's invitation to live in Qixing Palace for a while. After all, if someone sees her during the Zhu family's marriage, it will be bad. What's more, the crown prince is also in Qixing Palace. If Fei Xue can go see him days and nights, maybe it will be a good thing. Nalan Yurong breathed a sigh of relief, but then she still felt a little uneasy. Mei Lan. Yes, miss, do you have any order? Nalan Yurong said solemnly. You go to the Zhu mansion to find out what the Zhu mansion has to say about the wedding banquet and the bride last night. Remember to be careful not to let anyone discover your identity. Please go to https://www.qzxyzy.com/the king of hell is genius pampered wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Mei Lan hurriedly responded, Miss, don't worry. I will go quickly. Yurong, what are you worried about? Mrs. Nalan asked puzzledly. Zhu family is just a royal merchant. Their guards aren't even at the foundation establishment stage. So what if they find out about the bitch isn't Fei Xue? Don't they still have to succumb to it? How would they dare to cause trouble here? Keeping that Nalan Hushi bitch, they can still be the in-laws of the Nalan family. If they don't want her, wouldn't they lose everything? Nalan Yurong shook her head and said, No, I still think things are strange. According to what I saw yesterday, the dead pig of the Zhu family is an insistent dumbass. If he finds out his wife isn't Fei Xue, but it is Nalan Hushi, that ugly monster, he will surely cause trouble. Mom, don't you have a way to contact Nalan Fei Xue? Why don't you ask how is she now? When Nalan Yurong said, Mrs. Nalan also became anxious and quickly took out the inscribed message jade slip. The inscribed message jade slip could only communicate in a short distance. If Nalan Fei Xue was thousands of miles away, they could only send letters through the black market or use the expensive 1,000 miles voice transmission talisman. However, before Mrs. Nalan could wait for the reply, Mei Lan had rushed back out of breath. Miss, I have already inquired clearly. From last night to now, everything is normal in the Zhu mansion. I even asked the guards, and they said that the Zhu family is very satisfied with this daughter-in-law. It was just that the daughter-in-law threw a tantrum in the morning, and she even injured the young master. However, she was subdued by the guards in the end. This matter had caused turmoil, but the news wasn't spread out. The Zhu mansion has hired a few experts to guard the bridal chamber strictly. Mrs. Nalan only felt very happy when she heard the words. When she thought of Hushi's miserable end, she couldn't help but want to clap her hands and laugh out loud. Haha, that little bitch Nalan Hushi was so fierce this morning. Her virginity must have been broken by the fat pig of the Zhu family. Ha ha ha, this bitch actually dared to cause trouble. Doesn't she know that she has become the daughter-in-law of the Zhu family? Her life and death will be in the hands of the Zhu family. Mrs. Nalan became more excited as she talked. Even her body couldn't help shaking. Yurong, you don't know that Zhu Zhongba is a famous pervert and addiction. He has robbed a dozen women back to his mansion. No one knows how many women were played to death by him. Now the concubines that are still alive in the Zhu mansion aren't easy to deal with. Now that bitch has fallen into that pit of hell, she can't hold for long. What a miserable ending, ha ha ha. Mrs. Nalan laughed cheerfully. But Nalan Yurong's anxiety became stronger and stronger. She looked at Mei Lan. You said it was Nalan Hushi who injured Zhu Zhongba? Mei Xiang nodded. The room guards and maids said that it was the newly married madam, and they didn't mention her name. They even said that Zhu Zhongba was being whipped by the new wife until he bled all over. Nalan Yurong frowned and said, Nalan Hushi is clearly a trash. She has no cultivation at all. And even if Zhu Zhongba is useless, he is still a chi refining stage martial artist. How can Nalan Hushi beat Zhu Zhongba? What's more, using a whip. Isn't this Fei Xue's favorite weapon? Please go to https://www.qzxyzy.com/the king of hell is genius pampered wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Mrs. Nalan gritted her teeth immediately after hearing the words. Yurong, you don't know anything about that bitch. Although she has no spiritual power and martial skills, I don't know where she found a group of powerful maids. They don't look like they have any cultivation, but they are actually very capable. Last time the bitch asked a few maids to whip Fei Xue, but there isn't any scar on Fei Xue. Nalan Yurong immediately retorted. This is impossible. I asked Nalan Ziyun to deal with the Nalan Hushi's maids. How can that illegitimate son, Nalan Ziyun, be a good thing? Mrs. Nalan said in a grudge. Nalan Hushi is his sister after all. Maybe he didn't deal with those two maids at all for his own sister. Moreover, how do you know that there are only two maids next to Nalan Hushi? I remember Wang Zhong told me at the time that there were a lot of good cultivation servants standing next to that bitch. Now it seems that those servants might be given to her by King of Hell. Speaking of King of Hell, Nalan Yurong's face was suddenly distorted. Her hand on the table trembled like a spasm. She gritted her teeth and said, It must be the bitch who seduced King of Hell, or she has something that King of Hell wants. So His Highness is just using her, that's right. How would King of Hell like this ugly monster? Shameless bitch, you take away what belongs to me, Nalan Yurong. Nalan Hushi, do you think you have taken the position of King of Hell's princess? Dreaming. Now you are contaminated by the dead pig, Zhu Zhongba. I see what face do you have to seduce King of Hell. But thinking of the weird situation of the Zhu family now, Nalan Yurong was still a little worried. At this moment, Mrs. Nalan received a reply from Nalan Fei Xue. The message sent by the inscribed message jade slip was very simple. There were only a few words. I'm safe, don't worry. I'm heading to Qixing Palace. These few words completely relieved the hearts of Mrs. Nalan and Nalan Yurong. Nalan Yurong sneered and said, It's fine that she is safe. Mom, you should send a message to Fei Xue so that she must be careful in these few days and don't show up in front of others. On the day of Nalan Hushi's return, she would have been mutilated by Zhu Zhongba. By the time, even if King of Hell is angry, would he still want a dirty woman? If King of Hell wants to get any benefits from that bitch, I will naturally help him to snatch those things. At that time, King of Hell will naturally be grateful to me. And when I become a King of Hell concubine, our Nalan mansion will prosper very soon. Mrs. Nalan was overjoyed when she heard that. Great! Yurong, you really are my most proud daughter. Since a few months ago, Mother has always wanted to let this bitch die horribly. Now my wish can finally be fulfilled. Nalan Yurong showed a triumphant smile on her face, but she said, Mother, your body is still not recovered. You should recuperate at the Hungfong courtyard these days. Don't go out casually. Wait until you take another master's medicine, and make sure that there is no recurrence. Then you can step out and control the Nalan mansion. I have something to deal with these few days, so I have to go out. When Nalan Hushi that bitch returns, I will be back again. Mrs. Nalan nodded again and again. She knew that her daughter was the one who did great things, so naturally she would not hinder her. Please go to https://www.qzxyzy.com/the king of hell is genius pampered wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. In fact, Nalan Yurong came back this time mainly to help Master Shukong explore the details of Shengda Hall. Recently, the best quality pills and some medicinal pills that had never been seen before had spread throughout the continent. In the entire Miluo continent, now almost every sect and family were asking and discussing about the best quality pill. The elders of the Doctors Association, such as Master Shukong, also bought some of the medicinal pills to study. However, under the research, they were shocked. Let alone the color and purity of these medicinal pills, they reached a terrifying 99%. Even the people in their Doctors Association who were best at pill refining couldn't achieve such purity. Not to mention, some of the best quality pills, with their Doctors Association's rich prescription collection, had never been seen before. Among them was a kind of medicinal pills called bone muscle enhancement pill. The medicinal pills sold at the beginning were only first-grade and second-grade products, which may not attract the attention of others. However, when the bone muscle enhancement pill provided by Shengda Hall reached the third grade, it caused a huge commotion. Because once medicinal pills reached the third grade, they could be taken by martial artists of the gold core stage. And there was a martial artist at the top of the gold core stage in Tiangang country. After taking medicinal pills, he condensed nascent soul, and became the only nascent soul stage master of the small sect, Kuyang sect. That was the promotion of gold core stage to nascent soul. How many people had been on this step and couldn't break through for a lifetime? Even if it was a wealthy family like Feng family and Shen family, it took a lot of manpower and material resources to cultivate a nascent soul master. However, small sects like Wayangmen were not even second-rate in the past. One of the elders advanced to the nascent soul stage just because he consumed the bone muscle enhancement pill. For a time, all gold core stage martial artists' pursuit of the third-grade bone muscle enhancement pill went crazy in an instant. Besides the Jinling Kingdom, Qingxia sect and Shen family were responsible for the best quality pill sold in other places. Therefore, there were few martial artists and families who asked Shen family to supply medicinal pills. In order to let the younger generation get the best quality pill, some families even send their elite disciples to Qingxia sect to cultivate and learn martial arts. This had also made Qingxia sect more and more powerful now. They even surpassed the Feng family that was equally strong previously. At this time, all the elders in the Doctors Association who were still very self-esteemed could not sit still. When did Qingxia sect have the ability to refine the best quality pill? It must be related to Shengda Hall of the Jinling Kingdom. What was the relationship between the two? The emergence of Qingxia sect and the best quality pill has begun to occupy the market of their Doctors Association, causing them to gradually lose control of the medicinal pills and the doctor industry. They had obtained the best bone muscle enhancement pill, and they had been personally taken by the elders of the Doctors Association who were best at pill refining. The pills did have the magical effect of improving the meridians and expanding the dantian. However, they searched the Doctors Association's prescription room, but they never saw a similar prescription. And they tried to refine the same medicinal pills, but they failed again and again. This made the elders of the Doctors Association think of a possibility. These best quality pills were from the mysterious and powerful ancient pill. Medicinal pills was a small matter, but the prescription was important. If Shengda Hall, which provided medicinal pills to Shen family, really had the ancient medicine prescription, then Doctors Association must get it by any means. Nalan Yurong appeared in front of Shengda Hall today wearing a silk flower gold silk dress with a thin veil on her face. Please go to https://www.qzxyzy.com/the king of hell is genius pampered wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Nalan Yurong was originally tall, and she had a cold and beautiful face. Now that she was covered with a veil, it gave her a sense of fairy. As soon as she appeared, the people in line in front of Shengda Hall were all looking at her, showing an obsessive look. Even if she cut the queue and walked into the store first, no one stopped her. As soon as Nalan Yurong entered the Shengda Hall store, she slowly said, "Call out the person in charge now." The staff who was preparing to sell medicinal pills was taken aback for a moment. He hurriedly stepped forward and said, "May I know why, Miss Fairy?" Nalan Yurong gave him a condescending look and sneered, "Are you worthy to talk to me? Let your superior come out to see me. I have something to discuss with him." The guy originally thought she was a beautiful woman, and he had a good impression of her. Now listening to her domineering attitude, the good impression immediately became a disgusting feeling. The man said coldly, "Sorry, our boss never meet guests easily, please return." "Do you know who I'm? A little staff dares to speak to me like this?" Nalan Yurong sneered. "You think I don't know who is the owner of Shengda Hall? You are just a little boy at the foundation establishment stage. You get some small opportunities by chance, and you dare to show off in front of me? Why don't you take a look at yourself? What are you?" Before the guy had time to speak, Shi-san's angry voice came from the back door of Shengda Hall. The man quickly turned around and said, "Shopkeeper Shi, thank God you are here." Shi-san didn't answer the staff, but he looked at Nalan Yurong coldly. He sneered, "You look young and pretty, but why are you so uneducated? Let alone not queuing up at my Shengda Hall. You even speak presumptuously as you come in. You really have a good culture." When Nalan Yurong saw Shi-san appeared, she felt a little familiar, but she couldn't remember where she had met him. Hearing that Shi-san saying that she was uneducated, she burst into anger. Nalan Yurong ripped off the veil on his face, revealing a beautiful face. She said coldly, "Do you know who I'm? I'm Nalan Yurong, the miracle healer. Nalan Jungza is my father. Doctors Association's elder. Master Shukong is my master. I'm here today on behalf of the Doctors Association. Am I still not qualified to see your boss?" Seeing Nalan Yurong removing the veil, Shi-san was also shocked. He didn't expect the person in front of him turned out to be Nalan Yurong, the eldest miss of the Nalan family. This was Zhang-san's original master. But soon Shi-san recovered his senses. He was not Zhang-san now, but Shi-san. So what if Nalan family was my master before? When I was in Nalan family, I was just an unknown chi refining stage guy, and anyone could simply hit and scold me. But after following Hushi, not only my cultivation has reached the foundation establishment stage, but all kinds of masters are always following me by my side. Those nobles who are originally aloof all smile to welcome me. All these are given by Mississippi. In front of Miss who you think you are, the eldest miss of the Nalan family. What the fuck is the Doctors Association? Thinking of this, Shi-san immediately sneered and said, "I'm so sorry, our boss never meet customers easily, let alone the domineering nobody who came to the store without an appointment. Miss, please return. Please go to https://www.qzxyzy.com/the king of hell is genius pampered wife/ to read the latest chapters for free." She dragged her hand so hard that Mr. Liao was caught off guard. She actually dragged away his whip. Even Mr. Liao stumbled by the drag. Hushi's movements didn't stop for a moment. She first whipped away Mr. Liao who was closest to her. Then she turned around and whipped at Mr. Liao's two disciples. The two disciples' cultivation was actually not high. They were summoned by Feng Lianying just because they looked ugly. Now that they were whipped by Hushi with internal force, they screamed abruptly and fell to the ground. Hushi didn't dare to stay for a while. Regardless of the surge in the body, she channeled her remaining spiritual power and quickly flew toward the rank 4 magical beast area. This was her only chance, and the only chance. Feng Lianying's hysterical scream came from behind her ears. "Liao Qingfu, you piece of shit. I let you torture and play with her. If you let her run away, I want you all to die." The rank 4 magical beast area was in front of her. Hushi was suffering the torments of hell inside her. Her vision was blurred, but there was still hope in her eyes. Just a little bit. It is just a little bit. However, there was a loud bang in the ear. Then a severe pain came from behind her head. Hushi didn't even have 10% of her power and agility now. Before she could react to it, she was smashed to the ground. She spat a mouthful of blood. Her internal organs were so painful, as if they were being stirred. However, after the pain, there was the heat wave of lust that was even harder to resist. She heard Mr. Liao's proud laugh in her ears. "Baby, do you think you can escape my palm? Ha ha ha, no one has ever escaped after falling into my hand. However, for such a masterpiece like you, I promise to let you enjoy before killing you." Hushi closed her eyes, her heart full of despair and sadness. But what Hushi didn't find was that the blood she spat splashed onto the inscribed jade slip on her chest. There was a light silver like it was breathing on the inscribed jade slip. Mr. Liao and his disciple walked toward Hushi. He held something like an iron rod in his hand, tapped his palm gently and sneered. "Why are you not running now? You can try again. Let's see if you can escape from me." Hushi looked at him coldly. Her body was obviously very fragile after being influenced by the lust fire, but those eyes were like cold swords, making those who saw them trembled felt as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. Mr. Liao's brows frowned, and a bit of uneasiness surged in his heart. Suddenly he spoke to his disciple faintly. "This girl has a little temperament. If she keeps messing around, wouldn't we not be able to enjoy it? You all go tie up her hands and legs. If she dares to resist, just cut off all her tendons and hamstrings. Miss Feng just wants to see us play with her white jade-like body." "I think Miss Feng won't bother whether she becomes cripple." Feng Lianying laughed immediately when she heard it. "Mr. Liao, the worse you torture her, the happier I will be." At this moment she was channeling the recording talisman. Looking at Hushi who was about to fall into a miserable state, she just excitedly wanted to laugh loudly. Mr. Liao's disciple listened to the command and pushed toward Hushi. Hushi's vision was blurred at this time. The sound in her ears became a noisy and distant echo. The only feeling in her whole body was the burning desire. Please go to https://www.novelupdates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. There were people from the Doctors' Association whom Nailan Jungzi couldn't afford to offend. Looking at the debris in this place, Nailan Jungzi gritted his teeth, turned, and walked back into the underground cave below. As soon as he entered the cave, the man curled up in the corner immediately rushed toward him, making a sharp wailing sound. Nailan Jungzi smelled the stench coming at his face, and he felt nothing but disgust. He whipped at the incoming person. The whip had barbs. It was painful like peeling off one's skin, but the wounds wouldn't bleed, leaving only bruises on the skin. This was the method Nailan Jungzi specially used to deal with the medicine man in front of him. It was to prevent his precious blood from being lost. He whipped a dozen times, and the medicine man finally rolled and wailed on the ground in pain. He didn't dare to get close to Nailan Jungzi again. Only then did Nailan Jungzi sneered, stepped forward, and cut the man's hand with a knife. Drops of blood fell into the porcelain bowl specially prepared by Nailan Jungzi, but after a while, the blood clotted. Nailan Jungzi frowned. "I clearly remember that I had given this medicine man a lot of medicinal pills to prevent blood clotting. Why is it ineffective now?" He had no choice but to make another cut on the arm of the medicine man. Seeing more and more blood was lost, the medicine man began to whine in despair, and his body kept moving back. Nailan Jungzi grabbed the whip and struck it on him. He only stopped whipping when he heard him begging for mercy. Seeing that the blood was almost collected, Nailan Jungzi let go of his hand and randomly sprinkled some external injury medicine on his wound. The blood of this medicine man was easy to coagulate, and his wound was also very easy to heal. He just ate some spoiled food every day, but he could still survive for a long time. With this little injury, Nailan Jungzi was not worried that he would not survive. When he stood up and was about to leave, the medicine man wearing the helmet jumped over again. He hugged Nailan Jungzi's leg and made a whining sound in his mouth as if trying to express something, but he could not say a word. Nailan Jungzi only felt disgusting when his dirty body contaminated his clean clothes. He lifted his foot and stomped his face in the mud. "Son of a bitch, haven't you learned how to behave after so long? Would you like me to teach you how to be a good beast? He illegitimate son by Lingyue. You are as lowly as her. You're destined to live a miserable life in this dark dungeon. After that, he kicked the medicine man, turned around, and left without hesitation. The medicine man hit the wall like a rag. Feeling the sharp pain all over his body and smelling the stench in the cave, he couldn't help crying. After Nalan Zhengzi got the blood, he went back to continue refining pill. In fact, the medicinal pills he refined were just the most common spirit healing pills. The originally inconspicuous spirit healing pill, just because of adding the blood of the medicine man. It became the Juku Lingshan pill that the world sought after. Many people had been researching after getting Juku Lingshan pill, hoping to see the formula of medicinal pills, but no one in this world knew how this medicinal pill was made. Thinking of this, Nalan Zhengzi couldn't help but sneer. Please go to https://www.qzxyzy.com/the king of hell is genius pampered wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Even if the Doctors Association had more Grandmaster-level pill refiners, they would never know that his secret ingredient was a person's blood. No matter how good they were, if they want Juku Lingshan pill, they still have to buy it from him. As long as he still holds Juku Lingshan pill in his hands, then Nalan family won't fall. He just didn't know whether the formula of the spirit healing pill was too bad that it couldn't support the blood of the medicine man, or because the third-grade spirit healing pill was not something that Nalan Zhengzi could refine at will, which caused the success rate of refining Juku Lingshan pill to be low. Because of this, Nalan Zhengzi crazily wanted to get Lingyue's relic. Think about the third-grade bone muscle enhancement pill and third-grade flame spirit pill sold by Xingda Hall. If he could get these prescriptions, together with the blood of medicine man, he could refine more pills other than just Juku Lingshan pill. Thinking of this, Nalan Zhengzi hated Lingyue to her core. If it weren't this bitch leaving her relics to Nalan Hushi, my Nalan mansion would have prospered already. This time, a furnace of Juku Lingshan pill was finally successfully refined. Nalan Zhengzi looked at the red medicinal pills that were completely different from ordinary spirit healing pills, and a triumphant smile appeared on his face. He summoned the butler to the study room and asked him to send out the medicinal pills he just made. As expected, the butler came back and told him that those families who had received Juku Lingshan pill were all smiling. They said that Nalan family could ask them for help if anything happened in the future. Nalan Zhengzi felt proud. This pill is indeed the strongest backing of my Nalan family. He returned to the cave. He wanted to take a little more blood to refine a furnace of medicinal pills. However, after seeing the state of the medicine man, he frowned. He saw that the wound that should have healed long ago even without applying the external injury medicine, was still bloody now. And the person whose blood was extracted was also weak and cold. Could it be that he lost too much blood last time, which caused the healing power in his body to decline? Nalan Zhengzi's face was cold. In the end, he just kicked the medicine man severely, then he turned and walked out of the cave. Forget it, considering the preciousness of this medicine man. I should use it slowly. What's more, only if this person still exists, I can threaten Nalan Hushi someday in the future. Nalan Hushi, that bitch thought that with the support of King of Hell, she can be arrogant against me. But she didn't know that I have a way to make her obediently listen to me. At that time when I get the things, King of Hell Mansion will also be my aid. I don't have to worry about not achieving great things. The next day, as soon as Nalan Zhengzi came out of the study room, he saw the butler coming in with a box. What is this? The butler heard the inquiry and hurriedly bowed and said, Report to master. This was sent by the shopkeeper Shisan of Xingda Hall. It is designated to be received by the third Miss, Nalan Hushi. Sent by Xingda Hall to Hushi? Nalan Zhengzi's brows throbbed and took the box without thinking. There were several porcelain bottles in the box, and each of them contained the best quality pills sold out by Xingda Hall. There was even the most famous bone muscle enhancement pill. Nalan Zhengzi looked at the medicinal pills in front of him, and his face turned extremely gloomy. Are you sure these things are for third miss? The butler hurriedly said, It's true, the shopkeeper Shisan also specifically ordered that only third miss can see these things. Even master, you can't see it. Please go to https://www.qzxyzy.com/the king of hell is genius pampered wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Shameless slut. He really hooks up with Shiyu. Nalan Zhengzi yelled. His voice was trembling slightly. Unexpectedly, what Ziyun said was true. Nalan Hushi really hooks up with Shiyu. Such an incompetent and ugly trash like Nalan Hushi. Why is she favored by Shiyu and King of Hell? The only explanation is that Hushi got in Lingyu as relics. Only with those things as a bargaining chip, that bitch can hook up with King of Hell and Xingda Hall. The butler continued. Then Shisun also said that this is a thank you gift specially prepared for Third Miss by his master to thank Third Miss for her help. Moreover, there is bone muscle enhancement pill, which is given specifically to Third Miss to let her take it, hoping to improve her physique. The housekeeper's words seemed to confirm Nalan Jing's guess. Shiyu thanks Nalan Hushi for her help, but what can that useless Nalan Hushi help Shiyu? Isn't it in Lingyue's relic? Thinking of the prosperity of Xingda Hall nowadays, he heard that it had something to do with Qingxia sect of the Shen family. The Miluo continent was now even talking about medicinal pills. A hint of madness flashed in Nalan Jing's eyes when he thought of this. All these should belong to his Nalan family. Nalan Hushi, you bitch really deserves death. You forced me to do all these. Nalan Jingza strode toward Xinu house. He was going to find Nalan Hushi. He had completely lost his patience. However, before he arrived at Xinu house, he was stopped by someone. It was a martial artist from Meridian's stage who stopped him. Nalan Jingza recognized that this was the confidant of his eldest daughter, Nalan Yurong. The martial artist smiled and said, Master, Third Miss is not in the house now. But in a few days, Master will be able to see Third Miss, so don't worry. Nalan Jingza rolled his eyes. He faintly felt something. He sneered and turned away. Since Yurong wanted to deal with that bitch, he might as well wait and see the situation. With Yurong's cleverness and cruelty, he didn't believe what advantage Nalan Hushi could get. At this time, Hushi, who was cursed by the entire Nalan family, was studying her new prescription in the King of Hell mansion leisurely. Now she could refine the 4th grade medicinal pills, but it was limited to the most common Meridian's cleansing pill and spirit healing pill. Once medicinal pills reached the 4th grade, the spirit grass and materials used were no longer simply available on the market. Especially for some main medicines, it needed a spirit plant that was at least tens of thousands of years to be effective. This was also fortunate that she had such an overpowered artifact like Ancient Rhyme's spiritual field. It let her able to refine some ordinary medicinal pills. But if she was refining some top-quality medicinal pills, even if she had Ancient Rhyme's spiritual field, it would take at least 10 years to harvest the corresponding spirit grass. Moreover, Hushi studied the prescriptions recorded in the Overflowing Cauldron Pill Scripture and the King of Hell Mansion, and discovered that the prescriptions in the Miluo continent were too few. There were only a few that improved the meridians and supplement the spiritual power. Even those that could strengthen the body were fewer, let alone those that could cleanse the body and transform the bones. As Hushi fell into contemplation, 2 long fingers were holding a peeled grape in front of her. Hushi swallowed the grape without thinking about it. Her tongue even touched his finger, giving her a feeling of friction that made her tremble. Please go to https://www.qzxyzy.com/the king of hell is genius pampered wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Nan Gongyu's hand, that was about to be retracted, flirtatiously pressed Hushi's mouth before slowly retracting it. Hushi's face flushed suddenly, and she looked at Qing Long and Qing Wan who were trying to pretend to be, I don't exist. He couldn't help but glared at the shameless man. No fooling around, haven't you seen me busy? Nan Gongyu slowly peeled another grape and fed it to her mouth. He smiled lightly. I know my princess is tired, so I'm here to serve my princess. Is she satisfied with my service? Hushi's face was even redder. This man is really too shameless. Haven't you seen many people beside you? but thinking of His Royal Highness King of Hell peeling grapes for her, she was feeling dumbfounded and sweet in her heart at the same time. She stretched out her bright white slender fingers, picked up a grape and gently peeled it, and then fed it to Nangongyu. But he said coquettishly, "Are we even now?" Nangongyu looked at the girl's blushing cheeks and the phoenix eyes rippling like autumn water. He felt a surge of excitement in his heart. He lowered his head and put the grapes and the girl's fingers in his mouth, feeling the warm and smooth tongue wrapping her fingers as if it was an intimate touch. Hushi's heart jumped, and she quickly retracted her hand. Nangongyu laughed loudly. He hugged and kissed her lips lightly, then he said in low voice, "Sheer, I'm very happy." He didn't say why he was happy, but the joy and sweetness in the corners of his eyebrows and eyes were all telling his affection for her. Hushi glared at him. Then she studied the pill prescription that Nangongyu gave her. She returned to the topic. "Are these all the prescriptions in King of Hell Mansion?" Nangongyu shook his head while peeling the grapes. "Most of the prescriptions of Miluo continent are in the hands of the Doctors Association. Most of these are even left by the previous Zhu, and some were accidentally collected by Wu Yu in Gluttonous House." Hushi frowned and said, "Isn't anyone trying to develop a new pill? Even if the new pill is not easy to create, at least it can be improved on the basic prescription, right?" Before Nangongyu could answer, Qinghuan couldn't help but said, "Princess doesn't know that there are people trying to develop new prescriptions in Miluo continent, but very few people can succeed. Most of the pile refiner attempts to modify the prescription by adding or removing ingredients. Then they will discover that the pills they refined will be less effective. Like the princess, who can create a brand new pill prescription, and can even improve the original pill prescription, no one can do that in thousands of years." As Qinghuan said, she looked at Hushi with an admiring gaze. Her eyes were almost beaming with dazzling light ever since she knew that the medicinal pills sold by Shengda Hall were all made by her princess. Qinghuan's adoration of Hushi reached its peak. Unlike Qinglong, who often couldn't understand Nangongyu pampering Hushi like he was a slave, Qinghuan felt that only a woman as good as the princess could be worthy of her master. Princess is so powerful. She is simply the model for all women in the world. The master treats the princess better. That's the right thing to do. Otherwise, what if the princess is robbed by another man? Qinghuan didn't realize that she just followed Hushi for a month or two, and her heart began to unconditionally lean toward Hushi. She was completely subdued by Hushi. Please go to https://www.qzxyzy.com/the King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.